see. So what's the next topic? Oh, Dharma. Ciao. Okay, so before we get into some things, I just want to say this. I've only watched the first 7 episodes of Dharma. I literally binge watched a third, I guess we can call it a third of the season, because there's 8, 9, and 10. I didn't realize that I fell asleep and then woke up and episode 8 was playing. So I think I played episode 8, but then I fell asleep on it because it was literally like 2 in the morning. So I was watching it since I think like 7:30, around 7:30, 8 o'clock. I actually popped it on. I was doing that, and then I was working on some stuff for today. So I had it on in the background, but then of course I was like, bitch, this shit needs my undivided attention. So I had to put the laptop down, and I had to watch the show. So I watched Dahmer, and I have to say, I was left uncomfortable watching it. And here's the thing. I know maybe some of you don't know this about me, but I am a horror connoisseur. I love horror movies. I'm a horror girl, I'll say. But this type of horror, based in real life situations or something that happened, that makes me feel absolutely uncomfortable. I know John Wayne Gacy was based off of, Leatherface for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was based on John Wayne Gacy. Or was it Ed Gein? It was one of them. I know a lot of serial killers were based on a lot of horror movie icons back in those days because it was the 70s and shit. But with Jeffrey Dahmer, I had no idea the years that he was doing this. Like, he was killing people from 1978 to 1991. And I believe I was, when he was caught, I believe I was in middle school or elementary school or some shit. Because I'm a child of the 80s. But yeah, when he finally got caught, and we used to make little jokes about, we gonna eat you and this, that, and the third. Like, we used to make jokes about Jeffrey Dahmer back in the day when we were kids. But then when you hear about this shit now, it's like, oh my God, like when you grow up and you know better, then you understand. But it's just like, don't play with me with him. And I feel like this is a question and I was reading some stuff too, and it gagged me that a lot of people were not familiar with Jeffrey Dahmer until this Netflix movie. That's the shocking part. There are a lot of people who are not familiar with Jeffrey Dahmer, that was not familiar with what he had did. Because it's like people don't pay attention or understand history. And it's kind of messed up that they don't really understand history and all these different things. So anyway, what I particularly loved about it is because this whole gore versus horror situation. So I like the approach that they took with this film in this series in regards of not showing the murders, because I think that would be re-traumatizing those whose child that was, or the siblings who are still alive that their sibling was killed. And there were certain characters that they focused on, particularly in the series. So re-traumatizing people was something that was embedded in the back of my mind as I was watching this. And when there were scenes of him killing people, like particularly the first guy that he picked up that was the hitchhiker, and the guy called him, I guess, I don't know if this actually happened. This is a lot of things where, when they make these things, they interject dialogue and stuff in to kind of set up the situation. When he kisses the guy because he was supposed to go to a Fish concert, and he calls him the F word and weird and all these different things, it kind of put him over the edge. And I believe that was his first kill. He was killing people since he was living in his grandmother's house, crushing up taking their heads and sleeping with, a head in a jar that he kept in the box that his father had kept all his stuff in. So I think there was like this weird connection to his father. So I don't want to get too deep into the other stuff, but I just want to say, like, the things that I loved about it was the fact that they didn't focus so much on, like, let's show you these people dying. To me, that's a little exploitative. My thing would have been, I like the ideas of, let's focus on those people who heard things, witnessed things. Like, particularly Niecy Nash as Glenda Cleveland. If she don't get nominated for an Emmy, ain't no justice in the world. So I like the idea of her being the neighbor, and she would, through the vent, would hear the screams, be woken up in the middle of the night, hearing the screams from the victims, and then the drill going off all throughout the night, or the saw and him cutting up the bodies and basically, beheading them and taking the photos and having sex with them. Like, it was just some weird, real psychotic shit. And I didn't like the idea of them showing this fetish. I forget the name of it that it's called, that they said that the men have like their organs are a lot shinier, so that kind of would turn them on to being attracted to men, is because he wanted to just like fondle and be inside their flesh and all this other shit. So I don't know if he was necessarily gay, and I don't like that narrative, because y'all out here trying to make it seem like gays are pedophiles, gays are murderers, gays are like, I don't. It's that old trope that irks me, and we should be moving beyond that self-loathing gay narrative. So that bothered me with that, and the fact that I did like the fact that they pointed out, how the failure of the government, meaning the police force and the judicial system, the incompetence of the police, I should say, and how the system failed the victims. People like Glenda Cleveland and so many other people in that building called the police so many times when they would hear noises coming from the apartment. The rotting meat smell, which he always had a different excuse for, but it was bodies he had in this giant container that he was keeping them in with acid, keeping a torso and shit up in there, and it was rotting, and the smell was coming through the thing into other people's houses, and it was hard for them to breathe. So I didn't like the idea of them just basically like they would send the cops and it would be nothing. But the shit that pissed me off was the Laotian 14-year-old boy, Konarak. That scene pissed me all the way the fuck off. And I hated, and I think I did retweet it. It's on my Twitter, ChrisAvalon.com, DChrisAvalon. I said ChrisAvalon.com. DChrisAvalon, where basically, because DJ sent me in our group chat, sent me the scene, which I screen recorded and I posted on Facebook, just to see like what people thought, because that's usually what I use my social media for anyway, to provoke thought. So basically what he did was he showed, this clip of, he went to the store to go get some more alcohol, whatever the case was, but he drilled a hole in this boy's head, and I think it was because he knew where the nerve ending was, that he could prevent him from speaking. So he actually came to, he escaped the apartment, he made it downstairs. Glenda and her daughter and her niece were in front of the building with the cops trying to get this little boy help. But he goes and tells the cops he's 19 years old, he's my lover, and he's drunk, and he does this all the time. And because the police have an issue with people of color and gay folks, he takes the white man's name over this boy who clearly looks like he's underage. That shit blew my mind. And this makes you wonder why people of color do not trust the police. So that blew my mind. I thought Evan Peters did a phenomenal job with the role that he played, but can we just do this? I personally feel, because I do like Evan Peters, I think he's a phenomenal actor. I've liked him in a lot of projects he's done. I love him in Kick-Ass. I loved him as, damn, what's the character he played? When he was an X-Men, there was two of them. Wanda's brother. I like the character, when he played, in the X-Men films, even though those X-Men movies were either hit or miss. Pietro Maximoff, she played his brother. He also played the other version of the brother in WandaVision, because they never brought back Aaron Taylor Johnson, fine ass. But anyway, I honestly feel like, please do not give him an Emmy nomination for playing this role. I do not feel like we need to be rewarding people for playing serial killers. Now, if you want to reward people like Niecy Nash or other people in the film who were the neighbors, who we should be rewarding those who saw it through the eyes, like seeing it through the eyes of the people who witnessed it and the victims and this, that, and the third. If we want to nominate them, that's great. But I'm tired of us rewarding serial killers or people playing serial killers. I know Charlize Theron won an award for playing Eileen Wuornos. This was back in the day, but right now we got to stop exploiting serial killers like they're these gods. And there was an issue that I had with the show. I'll say this: the glamorizing of serial killers, not necessarily in the writing and the scenarios, but I feel like the way you would shoot him, the way they lit him in certain scenarios, whenever he would look over the people he was going to kill, or the way he would, when you would see him out in the nightclub where he was deliberately targeting Black gay men. And this is a cautionary tale. So with us getting this show, what do you think the lesson is? The lesson, in my opinion, should be that we need to stop glamorizing. Well, we need to be more, because in my opinion, I don't feel like much has changed. Yeah, we don't have somebody going around killing and eating Black people still that we know of. However, there's still assaults and violence happening towards gay men in our community from people they get in relationships with. We need to be a little more open about that whole abuse thing, the self-loathing, the fact that we look at somebody who's highly attractive and, oh, I just want to be around that person, but then they turn out to be a fucking sociopath or abusive. So we need to be I think we need to be a little more aware of who we hook up with before we take that leap. Because one of the things I loved about Dylan Burnside's character, he was I don't know, spoiler alert, if y'all gonna watch it, don't listen, but his character actually gets away because the grandmother decided to stay down in the living room with him until he woke up. They got him on the bus, and then it took off. So he got saved by the grandmother, played by Michael Learned, by the way. I was like, why did I look familiar? Then a friend of mine told me what she was. I was like, oh, yes. I think she was on the Waltons. I used to watch reruns of that show when I was a kid. So she saved him, and then it was another scenario with Conorak's brother, the one who Dahmer molested and was convicted of molestation, and was on, what was it? He was on parole, something or another. I forgot. He would have been killed too if the grandmother wasn't looking out the window and told, Jeff to get his ass back in the house. So there were a lot of people who got away and were saved from that crazy man. And the fact of the matter was, over the years, people told him. And the fact of the matter was, look, Jeffrey Dahmer was not like this brilliant serial killer. He wasn't like Kaiser Soze or some shit. Or the killer from John Doe from Seven, where he literally committed all these crimes. The cops could not get him. He literally turned himself in. That's how they got him. And the only reason why that happened, because he already killed Gwyneth Paltrow. He had a head in the box. Because he wanted that last Seven Deadly Sin for Brad Pitt to kind of give that rage and kill him. So he already completed his shit. Jeffrey Dahmer only got caught because the last guy who got away, because I was like, I know y'all not about to go in this room to look and y'all see blood on mattresses and shit, and y'all just not gonna notice, like, okay, so what's going on? It took the cop to go in the drawer and see a bunch of pictures of Jeff kept of dead bodies. Yeah, what's in the box? That's what I was thinking. The what's in the box line was actually what I thought of when he put an actual head in the box from his father when he was a kid. So it's like, so to me, it was just a crazy show. It's definitely something that people need to check out. And you know what? The exploitation continues because Netflix, from what I saw yesterday, and I posted this on my social media too, they're coming out with another Jeffrey Dahmer docuseries. It's a documentary. It's coming out next month. I don't know how many episodes, but I saw the trailer where they had the woman who interviewed him behind bars. So I don't think we'll never really get to know who the real Jeffrey Dahmer is, because people said he was pretty much vague in a lot of the interviews that they got. So I don't know. It's going to take a lot for me to really get in and want to watch this, continue watching the series. I got 3 more episodes to watch. So pray for me. Who knows? Maybe on next week's episode, I'll come to y'all with the tea and let you guys know. Okay, so